was a hell of a college football game, huh? Obviously didn't go the way that we had planned. I thought we had some really good game plans. That's a really, really good football team, really good. And, they were in the top 1 or 2 in the Big 12 in every defensive and offensive statistic. And they had a preseason ranking and continued to live up to that throughout the season. And, my hat's off to them. It was a heck of a game. We're hurting in there, both emotionally and physically. We had our starting corner go out in the first quarter, our starting defensive end go out in the first quarter. So just an update, Devontae Davis, with shoulder and neck sprain. Brecken Hager dislocated his elbow. Marquez Bimage dislocated his shoulder. And then obviously Brandon Jones was unable to give us anything after a freak deal this morning. So, our guys fought hard, really, really hard. But it's obvious we've got to do a better job. And I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive when you're lining up against Will Greer and Sills and Sims and those guys. But we got to stop the run, or you're going to bleed a slow death. And for the most part, we couldn't tonight. And I believe that's 3 games in a row with no turnovers. But we've got to figure out how to help some of those young guys and inexperienced guys that are playing right now on defense. The silver lining is that we play in the Big 12, and everybody plays everybody. We're not out of any race at this point. We certainly don't control our own destiny. We need a couple things to happen, but at the end of the day, our program is built on going 1-0, and we didn't get that done tonight. But we had a great week of practice, great week of preparation. I thought our attitude was phenomenal heading into the game. But we've got to make sure that this one does sting. Obviously, to have this happen at home and the way that it happened is a tough pill to swallow. But again, there's no rest for the weary in this league. We got to get up tomorrow and come in ready to work. Questions?
Tom, when Duvernay catches that home run ball, did you immediately look in the clock, and were you concerned about the time and how much time was left at that point? Did you want the drive to eat up more time, or
no? That's not. We don't get to pick when we score touchdowns.
Right.
So you take your shots when you have them and you see them available, and you trust that you can play 2-minute defense.
Right, and then Greer's touchdown pass there was part of a day where your secondary struggled at various times. Do you credit that to just Devontae and Brandon being out, or did you think that you needed stuff from other guys and it just wasn't there? Or how would you grade the secondary as a whole today?
I don't know. I'm not going to grade a unit off of without having watched the film. I know this: they battled their butts off, and whatever issues we have, they weren't lack of effort.
Tom, going to this game, before the game, you guys announced that Chris was going to be able to play. Chris Nelson, was he limited out there? Did he give you guys what you needed? And, with Brecken and Marquez going out, how did you guys kind of juggle your run defense?
I thought, just from my vantage point, Chris, played as well as he could, and I don't know that he hurt us by any stretch. This is a guy. He's a captain for a reason. He was rolling around on one of those scooters in a boot on whatever it was, Thursday morning. And, he gets up Friday, feels great, says, I want to try this. And so our hats are off to him. And then we knew going in that we were going to have to play Jamari. We were going to have to play Morrow. We were going to have to play Keandre. And again, I don't know how they played. It's not fair for me try to evaluate standing on the sideline, but we were prepared to rotate those guys anyways.
Coach, what do you think the contributing factors were to allowing 7 yards a carry and 232 yards on the ground?
Well, from my vantage point, we were getting out of gaps on the inside zone, and on the outside zone, we weren't flowing fast enough. So we've got to get our assignments cleaned up. We've got to make sure we set edges when people are trying to run wide on us. And then when people do run inside of us, we've got to fill the right gaps and make the tackles when we're there too and wrap up.
Coach, you've obviously seen Sam go toe-to-toe with some of the best quarterbacks in the country now with Kyler Murray and Will Grier. So how do you feel about his performance today? I
thought it was great. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I feel like he played pretty well, and I would think he has the numbers to show for it. But we got a really good one there, and the cool thing is he's pushed every day in practice by Shane and Cameron and Casey too. I mean, that's a very, very talented room that's going to make for some interesting competition here as we move forward in our program's development.
Yeah, Coach, the atmosphere around today was just electric before the game, in the stadium, all the way up until the end. Can you kind of discuss how you and Chris Conti have kind of worked together to create that electric atmosphere both on and off the field?
Yeah, all the credit goes to Chris and his staff. I mean, this is what college football is supposed to feel like at a blue blood stadium or a blue blood program with a stadium that holds 102,000 people. And that's a direct reflection of his vision. It's easy to have a vision. It's a lot harder to implement that vision. And in a very short time, he has done that. And I cannot thank our students. And I mean, I don't know how many false starts they had, but it felt like a bunch. And with every one, our crowd got louder and louder and louder. And that's what when two top 25 teams are playing and you're at home, that's what the atmosphere is supposed to feel like.
Tom, you've been fairly aggressive on your down and distance play calling since you've been here. And did you give any thought down there before you kicked that field goal of going for it on 4th and 1?
I always give it thought. Yeah. I kicked myself. I didn't know the quarterback's helmet was going to come off before he was short of the line to gain on the one, or the score would have been a little bit different on that play too. But no, I thought on that one it was a hell of a play by Sam. He came up a yard and a half short, and but with an opportunity to go up 7, we felt like with the wind in the fourth quarter, them against the wind, we felt pretty confident.
Coach, obviously you guys have played some good teams in the past few weeks, but do you have any level of concern about the defense, getting off the field on 3rd downs? You talked about the lack of turnovers. Do you have anything with like 3 games left in the season?
Well, yeah, I think anytime you go through a couple game stretch the way that we've gone through, you're concerned. I mean, that's our job as coaches. I'm concerned that we gave up a sack and we didn't convert on 4th and 1, and I mean, there's a lot to be concerned about on both sides of the ball. But that's why we practice. We've got to figure those issues out and coach the heck out of our guys to make sure that those issues don't come up again. And that's our job. I mean, yeah, it's certainly a concern. Anytime you don't play as well as you'd like, you're concerned, and then you go watch the video and figure out why and what you can do better as a coach, and make sure that you're doing everything you can so that doesn't happen again.
Tom, when it became clear that Dana was going to go for 2 on that last conversion, did you like that? I mean, was the sideline excited about that? And kind of walk through those timeouts that you called. Did you see something out there, or was that kind of strategic?
Well, yeah, I mean, the first one was a very unique formation. You know, they had 4 receivers to one side and 1 to the other, so we called timeout to talk about that formation. And then they put the ball in the other hash, and it was apparent they wanted to get 13 on Anthony Cook, and so called another timeout so that we could switch our corners. We had a pretty good feel. Like I said, I think we all kind of knew what was happening, especially after they did snap the ball after we had called timeout. I was actually surprised they ran the same play, but you know, we thought we could, you know, defend the slant and still get to the QB draw, and the kid, you know, kind of jumped up and then wheeled back around, made a great run, and that's why he's going to be a first rounder.
Coach, seemed like in this, first half was a wild affair, obviously, offense back and forth, but it seemed like you guys had him pretty measured for most of the second half. Did your defense wear down? Is that what happened with the run game? Of course, you're going to have to look at the film, I understand, but it seemed like can you talk to us about the adjustments you guys made for the second half that made the difference?
Yeah, I think the big thing was we had to stop the outside zone. That was what was hurting us in the run game in the first half, and so we did a better job of getting, it was a good chess match. We got some guys wider in their alignments, and we stopped the outside zone, and so they started calling inside zone. And it's not that we don't have an answer for that, but we didn't do a very good job of fitting the proper gaps and wrapping up when we were there. So yeah, it was certainly a good chess match. It was back and forth, but at the end of the day, the combination of inside-outside zone with the stick draw, and then great All-American quarterback, All-American receivers. I mean, it was a little bit too much for us to handle there at the end.
Tom, that the 4th and 1 where it looked like Sam had picked up the first down and then his helmet came off. How much of an impact did that have on the game, going from 1st and goal to your defenses out there? And have you ever seen anything like that in a similar situation in a game?
Not that was reviewed and overturned. Yeah, my understanding is that there's got to be indisputable video evidence to overturn a call. And to be honest with you, the officials had told me the call that they made had nothing to do with the guy's helmet. It had to do with where they thought the guy was down. And so, I don't know. I also thought that taunting before you cross the goal line meant that it negated a score too. So I've got to I got to brush up on my rules and get some questions answered. But yeah, it certainly affected the game. We got an opportunity to go up big there and certainly chew some more time, and that was a pivotal spot.